All right, let's see. What do we have coming in for the final week of May? I don't know how it happened. It snuck up on us, but this is actually, we're going to perfectly see through the end of this week with the month of May on the calendar before we turn the page to June. What? Halfway there through 2025. So we will have next week all new altar space for June. We'll have new intuitively selected decks and altar elements for us to work with. And of course, we'll be starting up a new empowerment pack that you're invited to join me with for June. But until then, we're going to be finishing up with the beautiful Oracle Tarot of Oneness and Oracle of Oneness by Robyn Voisey that we've been enjoying so much this month. And we're also going to be tuning into the Queen of the Moon, since tomorrow, Monday, is the new moon in Gemini. Depending on where you are in the world, it's later in the evening here on the East Coast. So yet another opportunity for us to connect more comprehensively. I will be recording the new moon in Gemini reading, hopefully this evening, if not in the energies of the new moon direct on Monday. So if you would like to join me and anyone who's already with me for the Empowerment Pack this month, we will be tuning in for that new moon reading, and we're going to be checking right now to see what's coming up for us as an overarching energy with that new moon. So let me just spray some of the Moon Magic Aura spray here for wishes, answers, healing, and guidance. As always, new moons are fantastic times for setting new intentions, wishes, putting out there the things that you're looking to manifest, to call into your life. And this one is particularly potent for that. So we're going to talk all about that in that comprehensive new moon empowerment reading if you'd like to join. But we'll dip a little bit into it here and see what card will be building the spread that we'll be exploring over there in that reading right here and now. So let's see what's coming forward for us from the Queen of the Moon for an overarching energy of the Gemini new moon, as we've ushered in Gemini season and we're winding down the month of May. What's coming forward for us here? Let's see. One card, Queen of the Moon. Ooh, Surrender, number 26. Haven't seen this one in a minute. Beautiful. The card of surrender. So we will take a look at both sides of that, proper Gemini new moon energies coming in here with that, and the energy of surrender to start us off there. And now, keeping it stepping, we're going to tune into our tarot deck. Beautiful. If you would like to see a little more of this one for at least this week, this is what I'll be pulling from. If you would like a personal card pull, it's something that you can request either here on the Empowerment Sharecast or in any way that works for you. Just reach out and let me know you'd like a card pull this week. And we will pull from this deck to build on the messages we'll be bringing through here with our 5-card spread that we're going to pop up now. So let's see what's coming forward, starting with Monday, Moon Day, New Moon Day. What's coming forward for us this week that we may expect? Justice. Look at that. 11-1-1. Definitely bringing in, look at those scales. So again, Gemini is bringing the 2. And so there is this sense of things, here we're talking about the balancing of the scales, justice. This is a major arcana card. So it is bringing a little maybe levity. We had quite the week last week. Okay. We had 3 major cards, and they were some of the bigger major cards, a la Tower, Hanged Man, Perspective, and the Death Rebirth card. So as we step into this week, perhaps we're ready for some rebalancing and some, feeling that equilibrium restored. So we'll talk about how that's coming through the lens of this new moon in Gemini, which will be filtering into this entire week that we finish out the month of May. So let's see what Tuesday brings in the way of a potential block or challenge. Energies from Tuesday. Potential block or challenge. Tuesday. Ooh, Four of Pentacles. Well, yeah, I mean, this was like a frequent flyer last month, the month before. We've seen it this month as well with those cute little squirrel paws. Again, surrender versus this holding on, the clinging, the controlling, the squirreling away energy. So in what way are we still holding on to some nuts that it's time to let go, surrender, so that we can create space to bring in the new, leveling out those scales? So we'll talk about that. Tuesday's energy there. Wednesday is our midweek blessing. So what's coming in here for us collectively for Wednesday? As always, these are collective energies. We're all bringing this to the table. We're tapping in to see, just what is in the ethers as we step into this week so that you can greet it empowered with this information, with some guidance, and then you choose with your free will as you navigate. And these cards are, just placeholders along the week, but they're weaving a story. I know many of us were exchanging. I know I came on with a special video to share about the way my tower moments were showing up this week. And, there was so much more there. And I know just from speaking to several of you that everyone was moving through their own version of those cards. And, it's really about you just tuning into what resonates. Always welcome to leave the rest. That's how it works with these collective readings. But, it's just really awesome, and being that we're here on World Tarot Day, as you know, I'm quite the enthusiast about the fact that the tarot is such a beautiful tool for really connecting in with your own inner knowing, your own intuitive wisdom. So let's see where the blessing lies this week in the tarot for us collectively. Ooh, yes. Wow. What a stunning card. This is Judgment, card 20. Here it's called Awakening. Some of my favorite colors here. Oh my goodness, how beautiful. So this is that wake-up call. This is that moment of stepping into the most authentic version of you, unapologetically shining. So there's the blessing in, look at the open hand. This is as opposed to the potential block or challenge this week that the holding on, the clinging on of that Four of Pentacles presents. The opening up, the releasing, the expanding that comes through. And this is another major. So we have two significant energies here so far this week, and the Four of Pentacles bringing in some of those details in the story. So let's see. Oh, wrong deck. So many decks, so little time. This one was tucked in under my arm. Thursday. How are we growing? And being that this is the last week of the month, we sort of culminate everything into this week, but this month, how are we growing? How have we grown through this month of May? Let's see what's coming in there. Oh, beautiful. The Ace of Cups, new beginnings, offerings. We see that beautiful dove of peace. Such a gorgeous card, an offering coming in of newfound flow in our feels, right? Because the cups is the water element, the heart chakra, the feelings, and our cup runneth over. And look how cute the presenter is. So that one is beautiful. And, Ace of Cups or aces in general are the ones, back to the beginning, new beginnings, and an onset of something new that's coming into the scene. So as we're wrapping up, how have we grown, getting ready just this second to last day of the month and, just wrapping it all up. So what's going to finish us off with Friday's energy to go with 2 major, 2 minor, and what's the tiebreaker going to be here from the beautiful Tarot of Oneness? Thank you for the messages that have come forward this month. What will that final card be for our collective card pull? Oh, I was going to say it must have been upside down. Wow. Another major. So 3 majors. And these are 3 heavy hitters. Wheel of Fortune, Justice, and Awakening. They're all going in order because this is 10, 11, 20. So Wheel of Fortune, the turning of the wheel, fate, destiny, seasons of life, the tide turning. And here with this beautiful labyrinth we'll get into and explore with the messages for this card. But this is significant because endings and new beginnings tends precipitate, there's an ending, and then on the other side, we're back to the one, a new beginning. So really beautiful here in this unfolding of surrender, and through the surrender coming in this equilibrium and balance, this opening up and awakening, this abundance of feels and flow that are coming through for new beginnings, new chapters, new experiences that are coming up as we move through the stuff of life, the things that make up our fool's journeys. So beautiful spread. We'll talk about that. Let's take a look here for one last oracle card to finish us off for this week. The Oracle of Awakening, also bringing forward such beautiful messages this month. What's coming through for our collective oracle message? Did I say Oracle of Awakening? Oracle of Oneness. Yeah. Let's see. Ooh. I think we might have got a twofer. Let me see. Ooh, okay. So this was a new deck when we started. So we do have two subsequent cards, 52, 53. So just a shuffle. Interesting how some of these cards have gotten flipped. Look at that. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm putting things. There we go. So we'll feel into both of these because the fist has got me with this pointed finger. Choose compassion over guilt, shame, or judgment. So that definitely feels aligned there with that judgment card, and certainly with the choose wisely talk we've been doing the last few weeks. And then we have this beautiful shift your perspective. Last week, we had in the middle of the week, the Hanged Man card, which was called Perspective with the beautiful hot air balloons. So again, more consistency in terms of, messages coming from both the tarot and the oracle messages that we're tuning into here about choosing wisely in order to shift our perspective. So I'll put those there, see if I can squeeze in a little bit of the energetic weather and some other things before it's time for me to roll on to baseball for now. So we will trust the divine timing when I get in here to break it down day by day for our week ahead, but we'll see what we get to here in the next 15 minutes or so. Once again, if you would like a personal card pull this week to finish out the month of May, please feel free to let me know. If you're not already with me for the Empowerment Pack this month and would like to come along for the new moon in Gemini reading happening tomorrow, check out the link I'll be sharing. You can snag that. It is a very detailed 2-part reading that will include a new moon ritual, the astrological weather. We're going to do a card spread with the collective portion of our messages, and then a personal set of card pulls for you with the decks I will be weaving in for that. And then, of course, stay tuned for June Empowerment Pack, which will be launching for next week already somehow. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. Let's get into it. All right, let's go. We're going to do some energetic weather here. I was just noting that out the window, we can see the sun is shining here. Hurrah, finally. We've had a lot of rain, a lot of cloudy conditions from the physical weather, but energetically, cosmically, we also have a number of things moving and shaking, taking us from May into June on the other end of this week. So just kind of capturing everything again. I mentioned last week I got into yesterday, Saturday, May 24th's very important event, key event of the year, Saturn in Aries. So again, just briefly, this is where we talk about Saturn moving into the sign of Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, which is really creating a new karmic cycle for us to work with as one of the key events of the year. This is something that will be going on for about 2.5, 3 years here because it takes that long for Saturn to move through each of the 12 signs of the zodiac. So what that means is the last time that Saturn was in Aries was roughly 28 years ago. So again, we're looking back 1997 through 1999. What was going on for you, and in what way may that frequency be coming around again here as a new chapter of self-growth and mastery? So we're going to get into that along the way. We have the next couple of years, but I'd like to dive into it in the coming weeks. It is on my wish list of things to dive into. It feels really key. I know for me, that's a very significant time of my life, and I'd like to share with you, ways that we can maximize this energy. Now today, as I'm recording this, Sunday, May 25th, we have Mercury in Gemini. Mercury loves to be in Gemini. Mercury in Gemini is quick thinking, sharp, and excellent at storytelling. So you can use this energy here to problem solve and to bring support to any communication projects that you may be working on. Now tomorrow, May 26th, we have that Gemini new moon. So the Gemini new moon helping to bring balance to our body and soul, or this earthly realm and the realm of spirit. So we may find ourselves needing to take a more human approach, or to detach and allow the nature of spirit to take over. It's going to vary, and I think it's perfect that we have surrender coming in as the Queen of the Moon, and we have the Justice card with the scales for this day. Really feeling aligned with everything that's going on here cosmically. So, finding our balance will ultimately be key, but it seems that we're being called here with this new moon to recognize where we need to trust more versus plan more. So Mercury, the messenger of the gods, is active under this new moon, helping to unearth divine messages that we may need to hear. So pay attention to the signs and synchronicities from the universe, especially today. Mercury in tandem with the new moon will also be supporting communicative efforts and projects that we may be working on. So like I said, we'll talk about this much more in the new moon reading if you wanted to come along, but this is an opportune time for expression, communication, projects moving, getting some momentum going there. So keep that in mind as we move into the week. And now May 29th through 30th this week, we have the Sun conjunct Mercury. This is known as a Mercury cazimi. This is a power day in Mercury's cycle. It's like Mercury is the star of the week here, and it helps to activate and recharge its energy. Mercury represents our mind and mental processes, so in a way, this can create an activation and recharging of our own minds. We may find new inspiration finds us, or that we are better able to sort through mental chatter. We may start to think differently about something, or start to see a new pathway emerge that we didn't think about before. Happening over that window as well, we have the final gateway portal of the month to close out the month, May 29th through 31st. We have the Aldebaran gateway, the Silver Gate portal. So when the sun aligns with the royal star Aldebaran, it activates a portal of high frequency energy. Some astrologers refer to this as the Silver Gate portal. This portal beams down energy that can sharpen our minds, deepen our intuition, and increase our wisdom. Aldebaran is also said to be the resting place for souls right before they reincarnate back on Earth. In this resting place, the soul has a chance to reflect on why it is coming to Earth and the lessons it will obtain. We can channel this space by connecting with our higher self and soul contract and remembering that every experience is a lesson. So we have some really powerful energies coming in this week that are all very connected to getting clarity of mind, and our thinking processes and sharpening of those abilities. So this could be a great time to really get some direction, some balance through surrender, through opening, through awakening. Just looking over each of the cards that have come forward this week, we have a beautiful sort of how-to guide coming in here to maximize this energy. So I have just a couple minutes left, so we're just going to talk about that Queen of the Moon Oracle card as a great spot for us to punctuate before I get into the wider messages for the weekend. All right, so coming in here from the Queen of the Moon Oracle, our overarching energy for this week's new moon in Gemini is this beautiful card of surrender. Number 26, so it's bringing in that 8 frequency of infinity, of really feeling that abundance and manifestation and what is possible here through the act of surrender. The mantra with this card, I let go, I surrender my struggle, I allow the universe to work through me. This feels so connected to this week's potential block or challenge of that 4 of Pentacles that has been sort of following us around all year, really. But we've just seen it a couple of times this month, and it's just the way in which we're balancing preparedness, preparation. And, this was mentioned in some of the other cards that we've just delved into, and some of the guidance that's coming in this week from the stars is about, embracing more of this allowance than this preparing for the future and constantly getting ahead of ourselves. So, just briefly touching on this surrender card where we'll deep dive into that new moon empowerment reading. Surrendering doesn't mean giving up. Let go of what you no longer need. Stop being so stubborn about holding on to aspects and behaviors that don't align with who you are now. Stop struggling. So yeah, definitely getting a lot of inspiration as I'm reading those words for, where I'm going to take our messages with the new moon reading that I'll be recording tomorrow. And then even just looking at this spread, just wow, we're really getting this comparison this week of the holding on tightly versus surrendering and opening up. So we'll get into that on the other side of the baseball game that I'm about to head out for. So I hope you're all enjoying your Sunday, and I look forward to connecting with you on the other side. Stay tuned. Hello and happy Tuesday. Somehow, some way, we blinked, we're here, it's Tuesday, and I am circling back in for our breakdown of our week in progress messages. So on Sunday, we tuned in, we pulled our cards, we have a bit of a suite of cards here. Over on the side, I have from yesterday our Queen of the Moon and Queen of the Sun cards. The Queen of the Moon, of course, I did pull here on the Sharecast and did share that brief message ahead of yesterday's late evening new moon in Gemini. We're still riding those waves of what was really one of the most lovely new moons of 2025, because there was no real opposition or things that were kind of creating any discourse, and everything really supporting clear communication and expression. And as I dove into the new moon empowerment reading yesterday, and we talked about journaling and prompts and suggested ritual and the beautiful spread that we had over there with that reading, really was putting together some messages that tie in quite nicely with this week's cards here. So I might reach over and pull in some of those new moon cards as we talk if I feel that they are relevant. And the other thing I wanted to share here is that, this was our Queen of the Moon card. It was card number an 8 frequency as a 26. And when the sun and the moon are in the same sign, I sometimes do like to pull also a Queen of the Sun card. And I did just that for the new moon in Gemini reading. And we got card number 8 from the Queen of the Sun, contentment. So we had surrender and contentment, both carrying the frequency of the number 8. And so that was all part of the messaging that we dove into on that reading, which again is still available for anyone who would like to join us. It's about 41 minutes and 4 seconds to be exact. I'm like, oh, it's just around some odd number sticking in my head. 4104. You would get that right away. And then part 2 are your personal card pulls. We'll be pulling from 2 beautiful sister decks that I chose for that reading called the Mystic Soul Tarot and Oracle, possibly returning for June. We'll see. I'm tuning in to see what I'm feeling for June's empowerment kicking off here before we know it. But until that happens, let's circle back in here to our cards, and we'll kind of look back at the card that came up for Monday, which is setting the tone for this week, now in progress, and also, finishing out the month of May. We had the major arcana card, Justice. Personally, found this to be spot on yesterday, Monday. I had a lot going on, and in terms of those scales and trying to find equilibrium and balance and fairness, I had all the kids here. They had been home since Thursday of last week. There was a ton of activity going on here, some unexpected visitors showing up, all while I was trying to, really tune in and have presence to be with the new moon energies and recording. So it was like a whole lot of order in the court with the gavel, order in the court, and some more funny stories. We'll see if they come forward as we go here. But this card of justice, so perhaps maybe that's resonating for you in terms of finding equilibrium and balance and fairness. And even just, justice can literally be legal aspects and things happening in our lives that have to do with rulings and cases and legal matters of all types. So just kind of tuning in again collectively. So meaning we're going to find some things resonating more than others. Here you are, invited, taking what resonates, leaving the rest. There's always someone there to pick it up. And here with this card of justice, we're in the realm this week of fairness, honesty, truth, integrity, the laws of cause and effect, laws in general, right? Accountability, legal matters, consequences. There's karmic balancing that comes in here. So, when we draw this card, it can mean exactly what we think, right? That I said, there are legal proceedings in the works, paperwork to be signed, or justice to be served in the court of law, literally in your world, in the larger world, and everywhere else that could possibly show up. It's also possible that you're faced with the need to be accountable for your own actions, always leading from a position of integrity and honesty. So if you come from that place of integrity and honesty, the outcome will be in your favor, right? If you don't, then you may have some hard lessons ahead. Again, those scales will ultimately be balanced. So your morals, values, and beliefs have been formed over many years. And as you've grown and experienced many different things, they may not match what others believe. And so with this in mind, remember that the quest for truth and justice isn't necessarily about good versus bad or right versus wrong. So we're holding space for others and their beliefs and their perspectives and their understanding of truth. So again, major cards setting the tone. We have 3 major arcana cards this week. So again, this is a significant time. It's really creating sort of the bones, the framework of where to from here as we approach June, that midway point of 2025. So we'll let the justice stand there as we now take a look, come into the present moment here and now with Tuesday's potential block or challenge card coming around again. All right, we are coming in here with Tuesday's card, the potential block or challenge this week as that 4 of Pentacles. So again, saw this off and on throughout, March, April, May. I know we've seen it once or twice. And here again. So we're talking about the ways in which there's things that we could be holding on to, clinging, stowing away, hoarding, saving that are actually not serving. And so we have the structure of the 4, right? The 4 legs of the table, the chair, the foundation, the framework, the structure from which we are building from here, and the things that can be challenging in that regard. We've got this card coming up. Now, I wanted to share that the card that came up, one of the cards that came up with the new moon reading yesterday was the 4 of Cups. This is a beautiful deck. Again, it's called the Mystic Soul Tarot. And I just want to put it here with it because of this 4/4 energy. And there's something about this little box, this place that we're compressed into in a way that's not serving, that's feeling sort of tight and constrictive. And in this case, kind of stuffing it all in there. And there's this sense of opening and flowing and acceptance, surrender, if we will, coming in here with this new moon in Gemini and the waves that we'll be riding throughout this week from that. So between the 4 of Pentacles and the 4 of Cups, the earth and the water, the material, the physical, the tangible, the 3D, and the feels, the flow, the energetics of it, being here together. What are we missing? What are we not seeing that's being offered that's new and fresh and creating space and movement? So Four of Pentacles speaking to security, feeling guarded, saving money, can be conservatism, scarcity, long-term security, safe investments, being materialistic, seeking control. So there's a gamut of, different ways that this can show up. We know that the intention with this card is what's our potential block or challenge. So that means we look at it from sort of a reversed, out of order sort of place. And that's where it can show up as things like overspending, greed, excessive spending, reevaluating our situation, hoarding, needing more security and stability. So it's saying, you have gathered, all right, we'll pause that. You have gathered all the acorns you could find and have stored them high up in a tree where no one else can get to them. What's your plan? Are you going to go hoard them all to yourself? Are you going to avoid eating any of them so your stockpile never diminishes? Are you afraid you're going to lose them or that someone's going to take them? It's important to check in with yourself to make sure limiting beliefs aren't holding you back. So, it speaks to planning, saving, and using your resources wisely being a great thing to do, as long as you aren't cutting yourself short. Life should be enjoyed, and you deserve all the good things it has to offer. So it may be pertinent advice for you to disengage from a mindset of lack or fear to do something fun. Acquiring money or any type of material, safety, security, commodity, is, coming up here as jumping off of the page, leaving me as I was trying to look at it. It's a good thing to do as long as you aren't cutting yourself short. Disengaging. Acquiring money is only one aspect of your life. Are you being inflexible? Are you exerting too much control in your life? Are you behaving in a possessive manner? So again, something that asks us to feel into what feels tight, what feels constrictive, what feels limiting, versus the openness of surrender, the openness that we see coming up the pike here with these other cards of being open and expansive. And here too, very similarly, the fours here of the tarot, there is this sense of, what we're missing and not seeing through a limited, perhaps lack-based or constrictive mindset, focus. I told a little bit of a funny story in the new moon reading that Sunday when I came in to do the card pulls. I had worked the snack stand. I was doing the baseball mom thing. I don't think I came back to share. Unfortunately, my son and his team did lose their game that afternoon. So they were done. They didn't have any more games to play for the weekend, but we still had volunteer hours and all the things. But I came home from the snack stand and my husband and my two youngest children were on a mission. He got a little bee in his bonnet and they were cleaning out the pantry. My hoard, my stockpile, my place where I know what all those things are and what all the best intentions I had for those things and all the expired. And I mean, I know that there's expired within reason and then there's expired. And in fact, my kids were playing a game where they were betting on the over under of what the oldest expiration date was going to be of things they were discovering in there that were about, we'd moved into this house in 2014. So that was sort of the benchmark to see, did it come with us or has it been obtained since then? Okay. And I was poking fun at myself and just at the circumstances of what happens in pantries and places where all of the best intentions may lie for ingredients that we thought were still good, still had some life. I'm going to make something, all of my aspirations of things I thought I would try or whatever that I have yet to get to. And I'm just not feeling inspired. I'm just not feeling the spark and it has yet to come. And yet I'm holding on to these things and they might be, burbling out of the pantry and overflowing in excess. And it's become this situation where holding on to those things out of guilt or having it be a reminder of my failed, attempts at some Pinterest recipe, who knows, but it's a light way, a real life way of looking at how this energy could come up as a challenge for us that with this new moon, we're being invited to create space, right? We're releasing, we're surrendering, we're letting go, we're shedding in order to create space and new opportunities for fresh energies to come in, that's being offered that we're missing because we've boxed ourselves into a limited perspective or a limited belief that is no longer serving. So those are just some of the ways that this Four of Pentacles has been peeking at me. Again, really about finding where you can create space, finding where you can create openness and expansion in your life. And it could be starting with cleaning out a junk drawer, finally just throwing away, recycling, or donating something that's truly not serving you and is actually just, creating a lower vibration in its reminder or in its, suggestion that it's a failed attempt or something that you then feel shame and blame and guilt about. Speaking of which, let's take a look now at our midweek blessing. All right, our Wednesday card this week is our next major arcana card, significant energy along our Fool's Journey. This gorgeous depiction of the Judgment card here called Awakening. Card 20, the second to last card of that major arcana wheel of the Fool's Journey, where we are coming into completion and wholeness, and there is an awakening, an opening that's happening here. It's expansive, right? It's reaching out for light and bringing in what is now aligned. So as we talk about, the shedding and the releasing and the letting go of things and the clearing out and the surrendering, we pivot toward contentment, then to be found in this process of answering that call. This is the card of inner calling, awakening, evaluation, understanding, inner awareness, redemption, a positive motive coming in, allowing your spirit to shine. Now, there's aspects of this card that feel like, self-judgment, hypercriticism, shame, blame, that lower vibrational perspective that keeps us pinned and buried and playing small and continuing that trauma loop of creating the same old from that space of unworthiness. We are freeing ourselves of that and expanding beyond that through that process of leveling out, bringing in the scales, the justice, the releasing, the shedding, the opening up with those Four of Pentacles, and now coming into this card of awakening. And it's not something we're talking about being like a sudden epiphany. What you're experiencing is more of a deep awareness that began as a tiny spark of curiosity. Remember all of our pages, those inspirations of swords, wands, cups, pentacles, as they've come forward throughout this whole month, the inspiration, right? That youthful novice energy of curiosity, of wonder, of excitement, of passion, however it presented itself throughout this month. It was the spark, right? It was that initial thing that started this process of questioning who you are and why you're here. So as you've navigated life's trials and tribulations, there we go again with those court references, the trials, the tribulations, you learned some valuable lessons. The self-reflection that came after each experience fueled that spark, allowing it to grow into what is best described as an awakening. All of the pieces are fitting together now, and you know what to do next. You finally feel safe to surrender to the natural laws of the universe and reconnect to your higher self. You are now ready to embrace a higher level of consciousness. This awareness may require you to make changes in your life, but you can make these adjustments with ease, knowing that you are doing the right thing. Purge yourself of any residual guilt or sadness. They don't serve you anymore. Accept the lessons you've learned and let go of any self-judgment. So this is what we're talking about. And I'm going to bring into it now this other card that we pulled, if you remember way back on Sunday. We tuned into the Oracle of Awakening, and we got two cards that flopped out. And this is the first, the one that really drew me into being connected to the tarot messages this week, because it's a card that says, choose compassion over guilt, shame, or judgment. And there is a saying that says, with that finger, when you're pointing at someone, casting blame, shame, judgment, you've got three fingers that are pointing right back at you. So, again, casting that first stone, putting out, projecting out that judgment, that shame, that blame. And as for anyone who's pointing at you as well, there is this sense of looking at it as a mirror or a projector that's showing us exactly those areas in our own lives where healing is needed, where there is an opportunity for release and shedding. And again, just as it's saying here and beautifully corresponding with that Four of Pentacles, of letting that go. But maybe easier said than done. This is a challenge after all. Those are some old, very well-worn patterns and ways of being that we can tend to very easily slip back into. So let's try to approach all of it with a sense of greater compassion. Choose compassion over guilt, shame, or judgment. So with that, let's pull that card up and we'll take a look at the Oracle of Oneness. I think I'm throwing words around, Oracle of Awakening, Oracle of Oneness. It's the Oracle of Oneness, with the tarot card being Awakening, and now this oracle, beautiful oracle card, will pull up here and take a look at that message as well. So here we have card 52 from the Oracle of Oneness, bringing forward this affirmation that says, I lead with compassion, not criticism. Kindness opens doors while judgment closes them. I embrace empathy for myself and others. I embrace the humanity in everyone. I mean, it really is so aligned that this card came out, that we got this card right here in a week where we have this judgment card, the very card, and justice, talking about making rulings and coming to different determinations in terms of guilt, or not, and the ways in which we can shift our perspective on how we're approaching those things. So this one is saying to choose compassion over guilt, shame, or judgment. This card feels so judgy, and I suppose that's the intent. It brings up that uncomfortable feeling of someone pointing a finger at you, triggering guilt or shame. There's a difference between the two. Shame is tied to rejection and the belief that something is inherently wrong with you, while guilt involves a sense of having done something wrong. There are a few ways to interpret this card. The finger could represent judgment you feel from someone else, or it might be a projection of how you're judging yourself. Either way, the energy is heavy and uncomfortable. Feeling judged often makes us feel different, unacceptable, and leads to self-doubt, shame, and defensiveness. Our brains are wired for connection and belonging. When we connect with our shared humanity, we can move beyond judgment, softening its impact. We can approach both others and ourselves with more compassion and empathy, recognizing that we're all on our own journeys. Take steps towards self-compassion. Are there other ways to think about this situation? Are you judging yourself too harshly? Would it help to talk to someone you trust? Throughout the day, ask yourself, what do I need right now? This simple question can prompt you to find healthy ways to meet your needs. Like everyone else, you are worthy of love and kindness. So looking at this card, it asks, where is the light? So the light on this card flows between you and whoever is judging you. This may even be yourself. It transforms from green to white as you soften its impact with the power of self-compassion. So again, looking at it in terms of who's pointing the finger, where are we pointing the finger, and what does that serve? What justice does that serve to point the finger? And where do I have an opportunity? And I think it's beautiful being that last week's card in this position of a midweek blessing was perspective, the Hanged Man, being stuck or being in a situation that we feel held or bound in some unfair way, typically, something that's typically against our preference, that we're actually seeing it as an opportunity to see it through a new perspective, a fresh perspective. And to say that if I were to, clear the board and come to an understanding that I know I'm coming to the table with the best of intentions, I'm a loving being, I'm a compassionate, I'm an empathetic being, that I give myself the benefit of the doubt so that when a sentence or a thought or a belief begins with something that sounds like judgment, guilt, shame, or blame, that I challenge myself to rewrite that phrase, rewrite that thought, say it again differently in a way that exudes, like it's an assignment, compassion, empathy, that does not emanate guilt, shame, or blame, judgment. And, just challenge yourself to reword it and catch perhaps how often we might speak to ourselves with something unloving that's judgy, and yes, you can bring it. Hey, if you're ready to look at externally as well, do that. But, we're starting with ourselves and moving out from there. If you catch yourself pointing the finger, take a look at those 3 pointing back at you. Just having a mindful moment. That's just a challenge to say, what if my assignment was to rewrite this story in a way that actually shows a perspective of love and compassion? So take that with you as we move on to the latter half of the week now with Thursday's energy. All right, now we come in for Thursday for how we are growing this week. And this guy is so adorable, this little otter with the dove and the water flowing from the chalice, Ace of Cups, offerings and new beginnings. And it's literally like as if, flashback to our new moon card that came up with that offering that's being brought in, that fresh cup of flow and feels and revitalize. It just feels like there's something new coming in here. How are we growing in our ability to accept what's being offered? And so this is speaking to Thursday's energy, flowing throughout the week, emotional abundance, divine love, union, overflowing emotion. So my cup runneth over with feels of all kinds, right? New relationships, creativity, contentment, emotional expression, enthusiasm, compassion, and this card can even literally speak to potential pregnancies and birth as well. So again, just things going on in our orbits and ways in which this energy can show up. It says, open your heart and let the warmth of unconditional love flow through you. This is your opportunity to be generous with your loving energy. Just like this adorable otter, you have an endless source of divine love all around you all the time. When you allow yourself the freedom of emotional expression, you open up the channels of creativity. Paint, draw, sculpt, write, make music, dance, do whatever inspires you. Pulling this card may signal a new relationship is on the horizon, or perhaps a new pregnancy or birth. It represents generosity, compassion, and contentment. So the signs that we see on this card, we see that dove I mentioned. The dove on this card can be viewed as the descent of spirit into the physical realm, the supernatural into the natural, which is beautiful in this Gemini energy because we've been talking about the dualistic nature of the two twins. I really got into that in that new moon reading because we were talking about how, yes, one twin is mortal, having this physical 3D experience, moving through the very real struggles, the hurts, the pains, the unfairness, all the things that exist in having a human body and having this 3D life. And then the other twin being immortal, being spirit and seeing, understanding the totality of all of it. So it's easier to transcend and to go beyond and be able to know that there's so much more. So finding again that balance and flow between the two. So we have another nod to that energy and what we are going through and moving through and flowing through at this time coming up through this beautiful card. We also see lotus flowers here on the card. And so those gorgeous flowers are symbols of strength and resilience, blooming at the break of day and returning to murky water each evening. So growing in the muck, opening and closing, and really being able to move between both states of being, which again is bringing us that energy of flow and that figure 8 energy that we've been talking about as well. Otter here as a symbol, otters are playful and mischievous. They have a deep connection to water and can be found in both fresh and salt water. Due to their connection to water, they are often associated with the emotions and an awareness of subconscious. On the Ace of Cups, this cutie reminds you to think creatively and with a smile. Have some fun. So yeah, I don't know. This is just how always been one of my MOs is when things are a little intense or stressful, or yesterday it was necessary for me to roll with a whole bunch of, things getting sidetracked. And I had like unexpected visitors show up right at the end of the recording of my new moon reading, which had already had numerous, interruptions and Cooper barking and all the things. And I usually will try to approach it with humor. I will try to take a moment and take a breath. I do not get it right all the time. And there's something to be said for like holding space for the fact that it is frustrating. It is annoying. It is difficult to sometimes get your bearings and redirect. And, anybody who has children in their life, or maybe you have, employees or people who you work with where it is darn frustrating to deal with everybody's different ways and levels of, being, whether it be maturity or awareness or whatever we're dealing with. It isn't always easy, but how? This thing is happening. I'm holding this cup with these contents in the muck, and I may or may not be jazzed with what's in there. That's the Four of Cups again. Is that feeling of complacency, of apathetic, just blah about what is in these cups. I'm sick of it and I don't want to deal with it, but how am I going to be in it? How am I going to flow through it? And so that's coming here with the lightness and the joy and the smiling and the creative energies of the otter. Have some fun. And then the water overflowing, 5 streams of water overflow from the crystal bowl, representing the 5 senses. So it's also very much in touch, very intuitive. Water, of course, bringing us into the heart, but it's sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch right alongside of intuition. So we're growing into synchronizing and balancing perhaps those senses and bringing them in through a lens of peace and compassion, love, and of course, lightness and joy. All right, let's take a look now at Friday's card to finish out our tarot messages for the week. All right, finally Friday. We are winding down the month. It's almost the end of May on Friday, and we've got this midway card of the major arcana, Wheel of Fortune, card 10, coming right before Justice, where we began the week. So we have this energy of endings, new beginnings, come full circle. There is this sense of the turning of the wheel of fate and destiny and things that are unfolding as they will, every time and space being a season. So Wheel of Fortune coming in, karma, fate, destiny, a turning point, unpredictable, serendipity, life cycles, luck, laws of nature, taking a risk, fortune, unexpected events. The wheel turns. So wrapping up this week and this month, thinking back over the whole of May and all the things that we've been moving through and the things that we covered this month. And you can always look back here on the Empowerment Sharecast and go back over some of the pick-a cards that we did. We had May Day. We had the 5-5 Gateway. We've had so many different things that have come to pass as we've moved through this wheel of the month. And now we prepare to move to the next. We've got this card coming in with the message that says, do you ever get that feeling that you're strapped in for a wild ride in this crazy life? Almost like you're on a roller coaster soaring upwards when times are great and downwards when things get rough? Or like you're in a maze making blind decisions on which way to go next? The Wheel of Fortune reminds you that life is full of twists and turns. When luck is on your side, embrace the moment. Enjoy the good times while you're having them. Alternatively, you may be experiencing tougher times. Know that this too is only temporary. Life can be unpredictable, and trying to control every moment is futile, right? Trying to control, holding on, squirreling away, all those things, it's futile, right? So it says, be mindful of your intentions and feelings. Projecting negativity attracts negativity. Give yourself the opportunity to achieve the best outcome possible by remaining as light and positive as you can. That doesn't mean that it isn't hard or that every day isn't always wonderful. Like I said, when we're moving through things that are irritating, frustrating, maddening, and all of the above, How do you be? And we're not talking about bypassing. We're not talking about glossing it over with some, cliche saying about, positive vibes. But somewhere in there, is that midway point of finding that equilibrium, finding that balance, finding the justice in all of it that's bringing forward for us blessings that are sometimes in disguise, sometimes showing up as something non-preferred. So, here we have symbolism with this card. It's featuring birch trees that it's saying symbolize rebirth and new beginnings. They are hardy and can flourish after catastrophe. They're also known to represent childlike innocence and imagination. So here we go again, just like the otter. Laugh, be light, being able to move through the twists and turns of life as we see this maze, showing that life can feel like a maze as you navigate both lighted paths and shadows. Deciding which way to go is sometimes an easy decision to make, while other times you need to move ahead with nothing but hope guiding the way. Life is full of twists and turns, surprises, and karmic events, right? So be here now. Surrender, right? Surrender. Strive for finding that equilibrium point of contentment, as also directed here, Queen of the Sun, Queen of the Moon, coming in here this week, bringing new opportunities. And the Tree of Life, also here in the center, is representative of your uniqueness as a human being. You grow, establish roots, and get stronger as your lifetime progresses. Experiences, both good and bad, shape who you are. And we know this to be true, and yet what things am I still shaming, blaming, and holding on to regrets about? Things, judgments, and decisions, and cause and effect of things that were done in a different time, a different version of me, whether I now know something I didn't know then, that I can give myself grace. I can cut myself some slack for what I didn't know, the version of me who made that decision. Am I still holding on tightly to shame, blame, regrets, judgments of myself or others? Also giving grace to their no longer being who they once were. And, so there's also this sense of moving through time. And if we found ourselves kind of stunted and stuck in a particular time, that we free ourselves of that now, with that being a theme for what we are releasing and shedding. Not just cleaning out the pantry. I was saying, the dark brown sugar that I found in the bottom of a bag that I was holding on to, that it's okay, I can let it go, all the best intentions. And we make light of it, and yet this is life showing us it's not that deep, and that we have opportunities to choose to look at things from different vantage points, different perspectives, and then decide, judge, rule. And I mean judge in terms of making a ruling, not pointing a finger, but drawing a conclusion about what am I going to do with this information and where to from here. And every day is a fresh opportunity for me to go in a different direction if I choose in this labyrinth of life. So that's really a beautiful card to finish out the tarot messages of May. So again, as we've just covered all of these messages, or whenever you arrive here and hear them, if you would like a personal card pull this week, focusing on any one particular area that's coming up for you, or anything specific that may be resonating, or even things that have come up throughout the month, feel free to quick reply here on the Sharecast, or reach out in a way that works for you and let me know if you would like a personal card pull. We've got one card left to look at that I think is going to be a beautiful punctuation mark on our messages for this week and the month of May. All right, our final card came in on the back of the other Oracle of Oneness card. It was card 52. We talked about choosing compassion over guilt, shame, or judgment. The next successive card was 53, shift your perspective. And they both came out together. We felt compelled to bring them both in. And so now this beautiful card, bringing forward these affirmations. I embrace new viewpoints and ideas. I am open to seeing situations from various angles. I am flexible in my thoughts and beliefs. I am guided by intuition and clarity from my higher self. From the perspective of your higher self, you have access to profound wisdom and clarity. It is the you that transcends the ego, free from judgment and fear. Your higher self can see the interconnectedness of all things and how challenges create opportunities for growth. It does not criticize or blame, but is always in alignment with your purpose. As we know, the human experience doesn't offer us the same all-encompassing perspective. Our experiences and feelings are tainted by the internal biases we create as we live our lives. Have you ever considered that what might be shaping the way you see the world? What is it? Is something influencing your view? Could it be a childhood experience, a past hurt, fear, or trauma? When you look at things from different perspectives, it becomes easier to empathize with others. By engaging your thoughts, emotions, and intuitive guidance, you will gain a broader understanding. Notice what you're telling yourself. Is it accurate? Taking conscious control of your narrative can create a dramatic shift. If you didn't hold your current beliefs, what other beliefs might you embrace instead? Are some of your viewpoints outdated or incorrect? It's okay to be wrong. Recognizing might be different from what you initially thought is growth through awareness. We all have the capacity for self-reflection. Oh, I said this quote last week. Here it says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I shared that last week with the perspective card. So here we are again. I love the consistency of these messages. I mean, you guys see that we've got these full decks here of it. There's 78 plus cards in the Tarot of Oneness. There's some bonus cards. And we have, let's see, how many cards are in this Oracle of Oneness? Big old stack. 34 cards in there. And out of all the cards in both of those decks, we have these consistent messages coming in from all different angles, shifting our perspective, freeing ourselves of judgment, shame, and blame, choosing to see the light, choosing to make a choice, and then doing it, right? Acting. Where is the light? So as we look at this card, a trail of purple light flows from the other magnificent ball of eagles. So there's like purple light around the tails of each of the eagles in this card. Symbols of strength, courage, and freedom as you soar through higher levels of consciousness, able to view where you are headed from a different perspective. Beautiful. That's the message on page 123. It's kind of funny because the way our cards unfolded, these two cards, the two oracle cards were number 52, 53 in succession, 1, 2, 3. Things unfolding here was sort of like these different ways of looking at things and moving through this process, and then turning that wheel, shifting to a new perspective, making a new choice. Try it, right? So some beautiful messages coming in. I hope they're resonating. I look forward to connecting with you throughout the week. Always love to hear from you on the way that this and the previous messages of May have resonated for you, or what your month has been like. Feel free to check in. Remember, if you're interested in the New Moon Empowerment reading, that is available. And the June Empowerment Pack will be kicking off. Big midway through the year month for us to tap into. We'll have solstice and so many other fun seasonal things happening in this next coming month. So stay tuned as well for the June Empowerment Pack. Okay, guys, I'm sending you much love, many blessings. I'm taking my daughter today for her post-op appointment. So very much looking forward to getting some relief, hopefully, when splints are removed and some things. So I'm going to go tend to that, switch my cape, head on over, and am here then later if you are interested in a card pull or any of the other comprehensive offerings. Much love. Have a good one.